one question I have to you, if I may. So one of the cases I'm bringing in the UK is a case against Facebook for the data practices you've uncovered and the policies that allowed third parties to access material. We're acting for a number of individuals in groups that thought they were confidential and had those messages, private messages, accessed. Yeah. Be really interested to know if you're doing anything with what you've uncovered by way of litigation.
I'd love to talk. I mean, I think what we're trying to figure out is, so first of all, our groups exist all over the world. So, you know, in my support group, we have nearly 10,000 women that are in the UK, they're in Israel, they're in Canada, they're everywhere. So that's part of our challenge, right? How do we self-govern across jurisdictions? But like in terms of litigation, I will be totally honest, you guys, like my first foray into all of the advocacy work that I do was a case on human gene patents. Our genes used to be patented in 2013, and the company that did our genetic testing had a monopoly over our community. So we've actually been in this like place before where, you know, we had a mean big company kind of using us as a bargaining chip to like make their product more competitive and trapped us. So I don't know, like maybe we can figure out ways to find a path forward, or if there's a way that I can connect with other people in different jurisdictions, I'm happy to do that. We are organized, so fantastic. We want to help.
So any other questions while we're both up here? Oh, hi.
What are the worst regions or sovereignties you see for hoarding and storing data? I'm assuming the US is one of them.
I didn't want to say being here right now, but yeah, the US is a place, obviously, where data is moving to. This is what we see Cambridge Analytica's parent companies. We see the data servers being hosted here now in Delaware. Seems to be the place that a lot of these companies are going to, apparently for tax reasons. But it's a concern. I'm really glad to see there are really mature suggestions being put forward. The California laws, I heard this week, there's an idea about having a US data protection authority like we have the ICO. I think that could be a good idea. It's good to see that this conversation's moving forward, particularly while we can see that it's going to have an impact. Hi.
You talked about how complex corporate structures with controllership You talked about how complex corporate structures with controllership can eschew accountability and just make the process more confusing. How do you see companies that have joint controllership allow for more data subject rights in different countries, or does that actually just make the game a lot more complicated? I think Uber is one of the few big tech companies that acknowledges joint controllership.
Yes, so that's a really good question. So I think joint controllership is something the European courts have been developing and expanding, and to the point where they now say you can be a joint controller of data even if you never touch the data. It's a wonderful case about the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's worth looking up. But that is really one tool that we look at a lot, is how when you have corporate structures, we try to almost argue that it doesn't really matter. Because of the Jehovah's Witness case, you don't ever have to touch the data if you're involved in the ecosystem of processing for that particular purpose. We try to make that argument. But it's not that easy. I mean, with the Uber case, they just kind of accepted it, but a lot of companies, they don't. And it requires a lot of unpicking of corporate entities. And I think, actually, we've got a session on that today. So you might find out some more.
Join me in thanking Andrea and Ravi.
Just great. Thank you very much.